Apart from Goldberg, Brock Lesnar is perhaps the most watchable performer of all time to ever step inside a wrestling ring. His entrance, his speed, his strength, his style, everything he puts on the stage is to make sure your attention is held until the very end of his match. You somehow just naturally get invested into a Brock Lesnar match heavily until he delivers the finale and leaves you up the ramp. Even in the beginning, when Brock stepped inside a wrestling ring for the very first time, his matches were nothing less than thrilling. But the Brock Lesnar we see today is on a completely different universe than the Brock Lesnar we saw a decade ago. And we just cannot possibly fathom another WWE superstar to reach the level that Brock Lesnar is on today. So what makes a modern-day Brock Lesnar match so interesting that it becomes almost impossible for you not to tune in? Just like Hollywood's beloved writer-director Christopher Nolan, Brock Lesnar makes sure the opening of his matches are absolutely thrilling, so as to put you right into the edge of your seat. This makes sure you're hooked right from the get-go, and once he's done that, Brock begins the transition into the Predator mode that loves to play with his prey before finally going for the kill. Now, even though this part of the storytelling becomes a little bit repetitive and slow, you're already on board, loving every single moment of how Brock begins the epic destruction of his opponent. Even when he was booked to lose the match against a returning 50-year-old Superman Goldberg, he made sure the opening was so nail-biting that you couldn't help but come up with numerous different thrilling possibilities that the match could go in. Now, as much as Brock's techniques, physicality, and in-ring skills are responsible for making his performance mind-blowing, it's actually the history that Brock carries behind himself that makes it so entertaining to watch him. It's not just the wrestling that we're invested in. It's actually the persona that Brock Lesnar embodies that we love to witness every time he unleashes the beast inside a wrestling ring. When Brock was at the peak in his WWE career during 2004, he decided to leave the company to pursue something that would fulfill him as an unscripted competitor. So he made the NFL his big bold target to fulfill this newly found desire. But Lesnar quickly found out that as a footballer, he was not destined for the greatness he envisioned, but rather he was always meant to capture the audiences through a scripted format. So perhaps wholeheartedly, or maybe not, he decided to return to mainstream wrestling. But this time, instead of choosing the WWE, he chose the lesser-known platform called the New Japan Pro Wrestling. After a successful run with the NJPW, Lesnar once again became dissatisfied and half-hearted by doing what he assumed what he was meant to do. So he made the most mind-twisting and career-redefining transition ever as a professional athlete. He chose UFC as his next platform to test himself as a fighter. Lesnar became a box office sensation, defeating some of the greatest MMA fighters in the business and selling some of the highest PPVs of all time in UFC's history. But as fate would have it, Lesnar's UFC career was sidelined due to his struggles with diverticulitis, a digestive disease in which pouches within the large bowel wall become inflamed. Not only that, but he felt like something was mentally lacking when it came to him entering the octagon, even though he was physically in the best shape possible to take on anyone that would have stepped up. So after a long and thoughtful decision, he finally hung up his gloves and called it a day. But in 2012, Lesnar once again decided to capture your attention in the biggest way possible. He then made his way into facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania and breaking the Dead Man's undefeated streak of 21-0. The audiences, unsurprisingly, once again had their jaws dropped as Lesnar solidified himself as the Beast incarnate. But it wasn't until Lesnar faced John Cena for the Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam where he gave birth to Suplex City and completely decimated Cena, to finally complete his arc into becoming the character he always envisioned himself to become in the back of his head. Cena was the WWE poster boy at the current time, and Lesnar was the only one who could convincingly dethrone him. From then onwards, Lesnar has been consistently and rightfully booked as an indestructible man who cannot be put down by even the likes of Samoa Joe, the Samoan submission machine who has made numerous big names tap out to his finishing move. So even when a man like Joe can't put Lesnar down for good, then who can? You can definitely think of tricky situations to take the top spot away from Lesnar, but when it comes to a straightforward one-on-one matchup, there's potentially no one who can dethrone the beast in convincing fashion. Brock Lesnar as a performer and a character will always be at the forefront of our minds, as we're continuously curious to know how the beast is going to capture our attention next, because every time he enters a ring, going through an intense storyline and a build-up, we know one thing for sure. Brock Lesnar will deliver a finale that we're going to talk about for a long, long time. And when the day comes when Brock inevitably delivers his final match, it's undoubtedly going to stick in our minds for an eternity.